welcome once again to Real Shame, a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And on Monday's episode, we talked about a movie that deals with a plane that has to encounter or has to perform a very tricky maneuver and winds up crashing. Adam decided to pair that with another plane movie where something bad happened, and this one based on real life. I guess the other one was loosely based on real life, but this one is definitely based on a real life story. And what is this movie?
It's 2016's Sully. All right, I pulled this one from IMDb. The story of, you said his name, and I forgot. Chrisley Sullenberger, an American pilot who became a hero after landing his damaged plane on the Hudson River in order to save the flight's passengers and crew. And that's Sully.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Sullenberger, for being here today. We also want to welcome First Officer Skiles. Glad you could make it in this morning.
Not as glad as we are.
For the record, we had an aircraft systems team in this investigation, also aircraft structures, MRT, aircraft performance, ATC, wildlife factors, survival factors, and emergency response. Today, we begin with our operation and human performance investigation on the crash of U.S. Airways Flight 1549.
Water landing.
Captain?
This was not a crash and it wasn't a ditching. We knew what we were trying to execute here. It's not a crash. It was a forced water landing.
Why didn't you attempt to return to LaGuardia?
There simply was not enough altitude. The Hudson was the only place that was long enough and smooth enough and wide enough to even attempt to land the airplane safely.
All right, Sully came out in 2016. It is written by Todd Kormanicki, maybe close, hopefully, and it's directed by Clint Eastwood.
Who's Clint Eastwood?
Who's Clint Eastwood? Here's looking at you, kid. Maybe. No, was that not a Clint Eastwood thing?
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart. Who knows? Why am I even on this show? Who knows? It stars Tom Hanks as the titular character Sully. I did get that right. It has Aaron Eckhart as his co-pilot, Jeff Skikes, Laura Linney as Lauren Sullenberger, his wife, as Anna Gunn, who you might remember from Breaking Bad, as one of the, I think, NTSB kind of regulators and stuff like that. And then, you know, a couple other familiar faces, one including Mike O'Malley and stuff like that. It's based off, you know, real life events, like you said, and also some books, The Highest Duty, and by Sully himself, and then another book by Jeffrey Zaslow, are the things they combined to make this movie a reality. It's a movie that I've never seen, but it's your week, so I'm going to ask you. You've seen this movie once before.
Yes.
What'd you remember about Sully, and what'd you think about it this time around?
So I mean, obviously I remember the real life event happening, known as the miracle on the Hudson, and I remember, you know, turning. I don't think I watched it, you know, as it like unfolded or anything, because it happened in the morning. I was probably sleeping or something. I don't know what I was doing, but I remember it happening and watching it kind of on the news and stuff like that. And it's incredible. It's an incredible story. It's incredible that nobody died, you know. I mean, it's insane, and it was like a really, really great thing that happened, because normally when planes crash or whatever you want to call it, I know in the movie they don't really call it a crash; they say a water landing or a forced water landing. But still, when a huge, you know, 100,000 pound or however much it is, you know, 100,000 plus pound vehicle is, you know, heading towards the ground at a rapid rate of speed, uncontrolled. It's I can only imagine it's harrowing, but. Yeah, so the movie, I remember when it came out, I didn't see it right then. I probably saw it maybe, I don't know, 2 years after it came out, something like that. I didn't even realize that it was a Clint Eastwood directed movie.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a Clint Eastwood movie to me.
No, yeah.
Because he's kind of, to me, he's very like minimalist or bare bones with his kind of movies. And this one has, you know, you have the special effects of the plane landing and all that stuff. So yeah, I was also shocked when I realized it was a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah, and it's weird because I felt when I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, directed by Clint Eastwood. I didn't realize that. And I completely forgot. So when I watched it this time, I was like, oh, directed by Clint Eastwood. It was like deja vu. I was like, directed by Clint Eastwood. What the heck? You know,
it's
but
like
then I was
Matrix.
like, why can't I remember that? But I think that's why it doesn't. And A, he's not in it.
Yeah.
And B, it doesn't seem like a lot of his other movies. Although Yeah, I feel like over the last decade, he has done a lot of true life stories. He did American Sniper. He
Yeah.
did what was the one, the Richard
16
Jewell movie?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did
the
the
15, 17 to Paris, which
Yeah.
I hear is a disaster just because it uses the actual guys
Yeah.
who are heroes but not actors, right?
Yeah.
So I hear that it's not very watchable.
Yeah, I do think, and I do think this part of his career, he is looking for like true American heroes kind of
Yeah.
stories and stuff. Because
Seems
then
like
he do
that.
like did you do the not Stillwater, but the one about the oil thing with Mark Wahlberg also, like the oil rig off the ocean.
I thought
Maybe
that was
not.
Peter Berg.
Maybe that's Peter
I think it
Berg.
was Peter Berg.
Maybe I'm getting confused.
Yeah. Peter Berg wishes he was Clint Eastwood. No.
Yeah.
But so I liked this movie just fine the first time I saw it. I feel about the same way now. I mean, there's some things that I have a problem with.
Okay.
Some problems that I have with the movie. I don't like the movie begins with a dream sequence, which immediately I don't like.
Yeah.
Where a plane actually crashes. And again, I'm not saying that he would not have those kinds of dreams, but it seems very shocking just for the sake of to start the movie off with it where you go, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's like a bait and switch almost. I don't know. It feels silly to me. And he has another dream, I feel like later on in the movie where the plane crashes. Laura Linney, she just phones in her performance. I mean, come on.
Well, she's on the phone.
No, that's what I mean. I'm kidding. I'm making a joke. Laura Linney's fine. I have no problems with her acting, but she literally is on the phone and like I don't have a problem with that. I just thought it would make a bad joke. But I mean, I think Aaron Eckhart is good. Tom Hanks is always solid, and he always or doesn't always, but he's very good at playing like every man kind of character. Although Sully is not an everyman guy. I mean, very few people could do what he did, I'm sure. But I just mean he has that quality of just being this very stalwart, upstanding guy.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, I mean, I think Sully, is like that in real life. Seems like a very cool guy and a very, just intelligent and great pilot, obviously. So I think Tom Hanks is a good choice to play him. But yeah, I think one thing is the movie definitely has its villains in some of the NTSB people, and that seems very it just seems very Hollywood. I get that they need some kind of conflict because otherwise you just have a story that basically just feels like a documentary.
So yeah. No, I agree. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say.
Okay.
Because this is something I was talking to Kirby about, and she and I don't see eye to eye on it. Because I do feel this movie is very jingoistic, like raw American, and I do think like a lot of Clint Eastwood's movies are that where he's finding like the everyday American hero and elevating him to like myth kind of stuff. And in like when I saw Richard Jewell and all these movies, it's always the every man brushing up against the system, and it's the man or the system trying to put it down.
Yeah.
And so when this happened in this movie, which I'm glad, and you probably don't feel it the way I felt it, but it's interesting that you saw him as a villain, because for me, it's also Clint Eastwood saying, no, the government, the institutions, all this stuff is bad. They're always trying to keep our heroes down. They're always trying to, they don't recognize that it's, these everyday men are heroes, and that it's, it's just like all this kind of like, and it's probably me getting a little political, but I do feel like it kind of falls into like these political talking points on this stuff. And for me, that felt very like false in the whole movie, that, they would paint the NTSB and all these people as these kind of villains that are trying to prevent this hero or like lambast or defame this hero that, was, because I got that vibe from it, and maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I definitely felt that in watching the movie, and it kind of distracted me from it. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, sorry, I did.
No, but I just felt like they've got to have some kind of conflict in the movie.
Yeah.
But, obviously they go through what happened, and I think you kind of mentioned last episode they do it more than once, which seems unnecessary. But I think they should have just done it once.
I'm on the fence on whether I like it more than once, because sometimes you see it from different perspectives.
Which you don't get all of it,
which
right.
I think is cool, but I do feel like we see the whole thing more times than we
you
ever
almost kind of do.
more
I
time
feel
than we
like.
ever more times than we actually need to.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. Like I feel like just do it once, but
Yeah.
that's a minor thing. But yeah, no, I feel like they had to have some kind of conflict,
Yeah.
and so their conflicts, well, or whoever Todd Komarnicki or whoever's idea it was to say, okay, well, let's have the NTSB people be adamant that the simulations show that he could have made it back to the airport. And I mean, they're not mustache twirling villains. They're not that evil, but still, they're both are. I mean, because I don't really include Anna Gunn as much, but the two guys are both kind of like, no. Especially the one guy, he's got a scowl on his face almost the whole time, and he's like, and then of course. Sully's like, well, now wait a minute, let's put in the human factor, and they give him 35 seconds, and then it's like birds, birds. But they are not able to make it back to during the simulation. They're not able to make it back to the airport, and then it's like, booyah, gotcha, and then the movie ends. Basically. I mean, it's just. But I still feel like it's a well done movie, and it's a story that I think deserves to be told.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the conflict is very Hollywood, but I get it because it's a Hollywood movie. I mean, so I understand they put things like that in there to give you. I mean, you root for Sully, I think, anyway, because the man saved a lot of lives along with his co-pilot,
like 5 souls or something like
that. But they want to provide something to make it a movie, and so they put that in there. I don't think it's necessary, but if you take that out, then maybe you do just have almost like a documentary almost. So I guess I could see it either way. And it doesn't make me dislike the movie. I still think the movie's just fine. Like there's nothing majorly wrong with it, in my opinion. But yeah.
So I'm kind of a little bit cooler on it, but I do think it's a good movie. I like I said, obviously I probably read too much into the reason why he's casting this government agency as the bad guys and this everyman is a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I do think Sully is a hero, so I'm not taking away from the real life person. I'm just talking about the fictionalization of the character and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of got from Kirby when watching this is, in her mind, and this movie is a very like post 9/11 kind of movie. So the crashing dream sequence he has are, I think, supposed to make him help you put you in the place of this could have been like another kind of like 9/11 in the fact that you have a plane full of people crashing into buildings that are occupied by people, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what that's supposed to do, is set you. The reason why he keeps having these dreams is these are the worst things that could have happened. We could have had another terrible, tragic incident like what happened on September 11th, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason why they have the dream sequence. I do think it doesn't add much to me, but I think that's what he was kind of going for, because one thing that Kirby was pulling from this movie, and she likes this movie a lot, so that's why I'm kind of relaying her opinion, is that it shows a lot like how these, to her, the movie shows like how these people were able to succeed and be heroes of the day and not have like a tragic event like it was. So it's almost like, a chance to kind of redo things over again and do it right kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that probably is not the most eloquent way of saying it. I'm sure it's kind of going to hurt some people's feelings and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do that. But, it's just a way of like, these people are able to kind of go in and, save all these people. And, they're able to mobilize the ferry people, the ferry men of the boats, and mobilize the scuba cops and all that kind of stuff. And, stuff that they weren't able to do, with the other events that happened, stuff like that,
Yeah, I get that. I think I mainly don't like the fact that it starts with a dream sequence.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it feels very, I don't know, disingenuous, shocking for the sake of being shocking. I don't know. I mean, to me, the actual event itself is shocking enough. And I do like that line where the guy says, "It's been a long time since this city had some good news about a plane."
Yeah.
I think that's a great line. And that to me, I think really sums up the spirit of New York and coming together and, everybody, working together, to save lives and that sort of thing. But yeah, I understand her perspective and the way that you relate it.
So, and I do wish Clint Eastwood would take some movies like this on, because I think he handles it really well. I think everything looked good. It was rendered well. Like it felt deftly. I don't know, deftly. He felt very, like a steady hand and like this was all within his capabilities, and it's just kind of it's disappointing that he doesn't do more movies that are kind of a little bit bigger effects and bigger like stuff on that.
Yeah, I think it's very capably done, and yeah, surprising that it's a movie that has like visual effects and stuff like you said, because I'm not used to seeing him do movies like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, he famously with like American Sniper, like they were supposed to have I think a baby or something like that. Couldn't make it, so he just dressed the doll up, and Bradley Cooper's holding this doll and trying to make it move, and he's like, it works.
Yeah, well, I know Clint Eastwood is notorious like for one take.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, we got it,
we got enough. Let's move on. No one's gonna care.
I think Tom Hanks and the other people involved in this movie are good enough actors that Lord knows if he did one take with a lot of these scenes, but if he did, I think they nailed it. They got it right. The first time around if he did do that.
So yeah, I agree. So I'm with you. I think it's good. You probably like it a little bit better than I do, but it's it's definitely worth a watch, I would say.
Sure.
If you've never seen it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you've seen it by the time we get here.
Yeah.
We're kind of spoiling it. But
yeah.
Where the critics fall on this?
Well, I was gonna say it got one nomination that I saw for best sound editing, but I don't think it didn't look like it won. It was 85% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 84%. And Leonard Maltin, this is not in his little movie and video guide, at least not the copy that I have. And so I looked on leonardmaltin.com and I kind of read through his review. He doesn't really put stars anymore, at least not that I could see, but he's favorable on it. Like he based on my reading of it, his review was favorable. So
it had a lot of positive words in it.
Yeah, exactly. He was positive about it. All righty.
All right. Well, that was everything Sully. And on these Wednesday episodes, we always like to answer viewers' questions. And we have one today. We talked about 2 movies that take place about and on airplanes, and we decided to follow that up. I don't know if that's the right word. We decided to grab this viewer's questions, which is, what are some of our favorite airplane movies?
Yeah.
So these are movies that take place on airplanes, like the movies we reviewed this week.
That's right.
So there are a plethora of movies that take place on airplanes, both dramatic movies, horror movies, and even comedic movies, like the airport series. Unintentionally comedic movies, like the latter airport movies.
Yes.
So do you have a list going on, or do you have a couple that you just want to say off the top of your head?
No, I'm just going to peruse this list. But I will say one movie that I watched that is not on any of these lists, but I mentioned it on the show sometime last year, I think. It was The Night My Number Came Up. That's a good British film from the 40s, 50s. I don't remember what decade. Shame on me. But older movie that came out. But I thought it was really good. It almost has like a Twilight Zone kind of feel.
Cool.
Takes place a lot on a plane.
And I'll pass on a couple of Kirby's favorite airplane movies.
Yes.
Con Air. She likes that a lot. And I will say Air Force One, she likes a bunch. And Executive Decision.
I don't remember Executive Decision. It's been so long since I've seen it. I need to watch it again. I am not a fan of Air Force One at all. I don't like it. But I do like Con Air a lot. What are some of yours? Do you have
I have like,
you've already got them.
I already have them. I already figured them out.
You already got them.
So I miss the days when Wesley Snipes was, an action star and starring in all these kind of fun movies.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Passenger 57, you're doing yourself a disservice. He plays an air marshal in the movie, and a pretty badass air marshal, I must say. And Passenger 57 is, one of my, top kind of favorite action movies. That's a lot of fun to watch and has some great one-liners and a great bunch of stuff that goes on. So I would say probably Passenger 57's high up there on my list.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Passenger 57 is very high on my list. One other movie that I wanted to mention before I'll just mention my favorite is Hell's Angels, which is a 1930s film that Howard Hughes was involved with. And it features some really, really spectacular aerial footage, and it's impressive because of the time period when the movie came out. I think the movie came out in 1931, but it was made, or 1930, but it was made kind of in the late 20s when they were still making silent films, and then they started making sound films in 1927 with The Jazz Singer, and then other movies started to follow suit. So he made it a talkie, basically. It was going to be a silent film, but he made it a talkie. But it's got some, even by today's standards, some super, because I mean, obviously Howard Hughes is a pilot, and a pretty impressive one, but it has some really, really impressive aerial photography, especially for its time period. No CGI, obviously. It's all up there, you know, it's very, very daring. It's very, very cool. But I mean, I think my favorite is probably going to be Con Air. I like that. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
I when I originally saw it, I think I was too snooty to really kind of like it and get into it. But then when I rewatched, because I rewatched it just a few years ago, and it's just a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with Con Air out of all of the plane movies.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go with one I mentioned earlier too, and that's going to be Executive Decision. I remember liking that movie a whole lot. I mean, you can't. Well, I was going to say, you can't go wrong with like trying to stop terrorists on the plane. It's always good time. Not good. Maybe good time's not a good word. But it's always fun and interesting and makes for a good movie. So Executive Decision is one of those, and I really like. You know, we got a bunch of early '90s kind of plane hijacking movies that were a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think like Passenger 57 that you mentioned is also a 90s movie, and obviously Con Air is a 90s movie, and I'm not a big fan of Air Force One, but it's also a 90s movie. I think the 90s was a great time for some hijack kind of movies with criminals on planes, stuff like that. So it's just there's a lot of really cool stuff that's always fun to watch.
I agree.
All right,
guys. Well, now it's your turn. Let us know what's your favorite movies that take place on an airplane. It could be Flight Plan, it could be Nonstop, it could be Snake on the Plains, it can be Airplane, the comedy, which we didn't mention.
Soul Plane,
Airplane, all these.
Airport 1975.
Airplane versus Joe versus the volcano.
Airplane versus volcano versus Joe versus volcano. Yes.
It could be one of those. Just let us know if you're watching us on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. If you're listening to us, shoot us an email. Let us know. realshame@gmail.com. We also answer viewer questions that are sent to us at that email address. realshame@gmail.com. Saying that again. We're on Instagram. I've tried to post the movies that we're going to review for the week on the weekend before, so you can watch them in case you haven't. So follow us on Instagram. It's @realshame. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff to spread the word. It really does help, and we really do appreciate it. And stay tuned next week as we watch some movies from my list of shame. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.